All right, guys, really quick SKYBOX video here because I want to use SKYBOX to kind of elaborate on some things I was talking about in some of the Flashpoint games, where I was a little bit disappointed not to see more banana retake setups from the CTs, and I referenced Astralis somewhat frequently in that they do this very well. Now, before we go into this demo, this is Astralis and Na'Vi from Blast, I believe. Before we go into this demo, I want to mention that whenever you're watching a team like Astralis, you have to also understand that they are the most watched team by other pro teams. So there will be spots where, even though we look to them as objectively the best team strategically and tactically, the leaders of innovation in that regard, they will sometimes do things that are off the expectation, away from what we would think is the most efficient way to play a situation. And that's simply because everybody's watching them, everyone's studying them. All the pro teams are very aware of how they play. So this creates a demand for Astralis to have a lot of variations to their setups and to basically trick their opponents by making their opponents think that they have a tell from Astralis as to what Astralis are going to be doing with their CT setups. And it's Astralis' job to kind of make that as weird as possible. And so just want to mention that because, again, we do talk about Astralis as being, the most and best tactical team, but you have to bear that in mind when you watch them, because again, you will see things sometimes that might not make sense if you don't have that kind of, if you don't understand that notion that they need to play against expectation because they're very studied, right? So in this particular demo, devices are really good spawn with the orb, so they're actually going to start 3 towards banana. And one quick thing to mention here as well is that during the flow of a game, this is something that's really, really important. Pacing is a big deal. If on Inferno as a T side, you're going really hard and dumping lots of utility towards the banana position so you can take control of banana, and you're doing well with that, then the CTs will either double down on their investment of utility, and maybe they'll start using 3 players to try to really prevent you from taking it, or what they'll do is they'll let you take it, burn all your utility, then they'll use their utility more efficiently by just retaking it afterwards. So it's this kind of give and take of trying to understand what is the other team investing, how do we get a more efficient investment to have the best outcome possible. So that's just a quick little thought here, something to bear in mind, that sometimes teams, they always want to be ahead on utility. That's the way to think about it. So we get this smoke here at the half wall, and this is to prevent Device's peak from doing anything. You can see his peak with the orb was not impactful because of this smoke. So just the mere presence of Device, aggressive AWPers in general at the top level, throwing this smoke is pretty good to deny that quick peak because it's very strong. And the other thing as well is that when you throw this smoke, it does limit the CT's aggression. The CTs will have to pop flash and go through it if they really want to go hyper aggressive to take full banana control. So throwing this smoke is actually quite valuable in that sense from the T side's perspective, to be able to kind of slow play your banana control game and kind of not allow the CTs to have as much information and so on. So we can see that there was one molly here as well from Astralis, just to slow things down ever so slightly. Now we're going to see a rotation from Zipex. He's going to leave Device coffins. He's going to be playing coffins in the clavers here at first oranges. So now, at the same time this is all happening towards banana, we're getting the alt mid and the apartments take for Na'Vi. They're going to be working on the rest of their default with their other players to take top mid. So what we're going to look at here is Astralis and the fact that they didn't invest too much early on here. They invested kind of minimally. They wanted to invest just enough to slow down their opponents, to create some pressure, and to maybe try to convince Na'Vi to overcommit their own utility at that point in time, thinking that maybe Astralis was going to commit a lot of utility. But in reality, Astralis fell back and they're going to play retake here. So Glaive's going to get on top of first oranges, and again, you can probably find the precise lineups if you watch some YouTube videos or demos, and he's going to throw from this position both a molly and an incendiary and a smoke. The smoke will be first. You can see the smoke bouncing off this little balcony, as well the Molotov. The smoke pops here, and the Molotov is behind here. Now, obviously, this is to prevent any Ts who may have been around this smoke at the time of it detonating or it blooming. If they try to push through, they'd be in the flames, and they would kind of have to move into the open here, and they would be very susceptible to getting taken down. So it's to really discourage the Ts from pushing the smoke as it lands. and to get a timing there. Now the next thing that's going to happen is Device is going to throw this extremely strong and very easy to line up pop flash from the coffin's position. There's usually like a little antenna thing here or whatever, and you kind of aim it towards this, like towards this antenna. Really easy to learn this one, and you're going to see that this pop flash is going to aid Glaive in his ability to take this position. Now, knowing that where the incendiary is, there can't be any T's standing in these positions. They would have to be standing like already in Glaive's vision. From where Glaive is, they'd already have to be. You can see that they would already have to be standing here. So he knows that this area is clear. He knows that all this is most likely clear at this point. So there's only really one place that he has to check. When he turns the corner, there's the pop flash. You can see it detonates here. In fact, I'm going to rewind that so you guys can just see it again. Actually, I should get it like... Okay, let's just watch it again. So you can see that Glaive waits about 7 seconds or so, the entire incendiary duration, before he goes to this play. And part of the reason there as well is that whenever you throw a smoke and a molly, even if there is a molly there is a possibility that the T's will challenge and they'll try to catch you as you're pushing. Because when you're pushing and you're moving forwards, you're effectively out of position. You're out of position until you're in position. And so Glaive would be out of position, and maybe there's a potential that he would get caught. So you want to wait a little bit to see what the T's are actually doing. And in this case, they're just setting up again the only one thing that's really available, which is this boost over the half wall to kind of play off this like sort of sneaky one way. I don't know if this is precisely a one way, but as I mentioned, as Astralis will know, this is the only thing that's actually open right now for the T side. So if we go back again, flash comes through, they're completely blind. We'll start again. Flash comes through, completely blind. He gets this kill. This creates a huge problem because although at this point Na'Vi they have just taken top mid control, they've got this forward Molotov, they've got the arch smoke. This is a really huge problem because now Astralis have top banana, and if you have top banana as the CTs, you know that the T's can't be threatening a B take. They can't suddenly walk into B. So this is huge because it allows them to be able to keep 3 players towards the A side. They have the option to rotate one back if they really want at this point, given that the smoke is somewhat fresh, and also given that there's a lot of noise here towards top mid. That's going to allow them to rotate. So this was effectively 3 bits of utility that allow them to secure control of this position. And again, let's think of how efficient that is versus let's say throwing in Molotov, HE, a deep smoke. There's so many nades that you'll be throwing typically to take aggressive control of bananas. This is an alternative that is very easy to replicate, and again, if you have that key part, which is that pop flash, it's going to be really strong. So if you're a B player and you're playing CSGO and pugs or matchmaking, whatever it is, super awesome setup that you can replicate all the time. It's gonna be very effective. And again, like because of the time left in the round, which we can see at the top here, and given the fact that there was at the point of this happening, there was very limited. So you can see that they actually wanted to like maybe go for something here, but the push came in instead. But given the fact that they have very limited utility, you got to start thinking, well, we've only got 2 smokes left. We have to have something to get a site and play a post plant if we possibly can. And you really need at least 1 smoke for Moto if you're going to plant A, and you need like at least 1 or 2 smokes for B as well. So they decide to go towards the bomb site, keep things simple, of the which correlates to the position that they have under control. They have top mid at this point in time. They've just lost this. They have to weigh out this smoke. They don't know what's behind this smoke. They'd have to invest utility to retake this position. That's going to kill a lot of time at this point. So again, they're just going to rotate towards top mid and go towards A. This really is the only call in this position for Na'Vi, and the Astralis know it, so they can early rotate a player if they'd wish to do so. Now, the only thing about Na'Vi's situation here that they really have in terms of decisions to make is, do they try to wrap with 4 players? Do they want to put some in the apps? Like, what do they think the CT setup will be? There's a lot of different ways to play it. Now, they're actually going to go for an arch push here. You can see that there is a forward molly. That's actually, the timing is actually really brutal because you can see Perfecto's kind of stuck by himself here, and Zephex actually catches him on the edge of the smoke. I suppose there's a world where, I don't know if the smoke was dissipating at that point, or if Perfecto could have delayed that. But at this point already, you can see that the rotation's underway. the utility situation is really bad for the T side, and there's a really strong pit setup for Astralis. This is amazing because these guys can just hold this down. It doesn't matter even if there's arch control, because even if there's, like, the great thing about arch control is that it deals with the site positions really well. It deals with graveyard really well. But dealing with pit is actually quite difficult unless you have some utility. That's why you're going to want people usually to come through lane or to come through balcony, because again, the arch wrap deals with pretty much everything in these positions, but it doesn't do it nearly as well against the players in pit, who can just delay forever. So you're going to see this play out, and SKYBOX is still kind of able to hold this smoke. Now he's got a teammate to play with, and it's a 1v2 for Flamey here in this position. So round's basically over. So there you go. I just really wanted to go over just how simple the retake smokes, smoke molly and pop flash is on Banana. It's extremely potent, and it's something that can give you a lot of map control and can make life really difficult for the T side. It really does encourage, especially if you do it at the timing that they did it. So let's go back a little bit and see the specific timing of when this came in. So this came in around 1:15. So the brutal thing when this smoke pops, and this is smokes last about 17 seconds or so. So the really brutal thing here is that when this smoke goes away, there's gonna be around 1 minute left in the round. There is always the option potentially, as far as the T's are concerned, for the CTs to re-smoke this. So unless the T's actually take this position fully away from the CTs and invest utility to do so, they're going to be sort of in the dark. So and at that point, there's like 40 seconds left in the round, 45 seconds left in the round when that next phase happens. So if this doesn't go particularly well, then you don't really have a lot of time to make a decision. So that's why they just go for the safer option of just going towards the bomb site, where they have the control of the relevant position, which is top mids in the case of A. Obviously the relevant position in the case of attacking B is having, top banana control. So there you have it. I hope you guys found that informative, and I'll see you on the next one.